So, as you know, my middle child will be bar mitzvahed very soon, or many of you do know, loves sports. He is a football fanatic, in case you are curious. And this year I heard about a Jewish football player who is a quarterback on BYU's team. I'm going to botch his name, Jake Retzlaff. He's been what's considered a decent quarterback, meaning he has thrown for 20 touchdowns, and he has led BYU, Brigham Young University, to a 10-2 record in the Big 12 Conference and a top 25 national ranking. He has also publicly embraced his Judaism, wearing his Star of David. And I find that to be fascinating, considering there are people today who don't wear the Star of David. There are Jewish kids who have dreamed of becoming Jewish athletes, but it gets better. Just wait when I tell you something else. He has signed his first deal with Manischewitz, and a likeness of him is going to appear this spring on your matzo box and mine.
You got an NIL deal.
He got an NIL deal. I don't know what that means, but yes, but that is right. And for those nerds of you who don't know, that's a new thing. College players could not do that until relatively recently. But again, as the rabbi in me looks at that intersection of sports, dreams becoming an absolute reality, I think also about other Jewish sports pioneers. Of course, Sandy Koufax comes to my mind, who did not play or pitch on Yom Kippur. And I'm sure you remember, because this I do, and I've rewatched her video a few times, Ali Reisman, who performed her Olympic routine to Hava Nagila. How cool is that? Both of these people, by the way, Ali Reisman and Jake Retzlaff, both Reformed Jews. Bring it in the house, Reformed Jews. So these modern stories of identities, embracing their Jewish identity, and reaching for their dreams brought to mind, of course, another Jewish dreamer who we read about this week in Parshat Vayetze. And if you're thinking of Jacob and the ladder and the angels, ding, ding, ding for you. Yes, that's where my mind went to. Of course, Jacob, we all know, was a trickster. He tricked his brother Esau out of his birthright, and it doesn't take a psychological genius, no offense, Dr. Flowers, to wonder what was going on with Jacob, what was causing his anxiety. When he left his home, manipulated his family, puts his head down, and has a dream. What's fascinating about this dream is that God says, Jacob, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to give you land. I'm going to give you progeny. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to watch over you wherever you go. I'm going to make sure that you return to this land. I'm never going to leave you, Jacob. I'm with you. Jacob wakes up the next morning and he takes a vow. And his vow says, if you, God, are going to be with me and will watch over me on the path and provide me with food and make sure that I have clothes to wear and I return to this place, to the land of my fathers, in peace, in the house of where I came from, Lord, I'm going to be with you too. So it's kind of fascinating if you were to line up the prayer or the prophecy that God says with the vow that Jacob takes. You can really see what were Jacob's mindset leading in. What was on his mind? His safety, his security, his future. He was wandering into an uncertain path, and he wasn't even sure if he himself would survive. From Jacob's vision, though, of wondering what will happen to him, we see that he has this curiosity, not just for himself, but in God's words too, for him. All of the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants. This is what God tells Jacob. In a unique way, Jacob's dream becomes a communal dream for all of us and our identity. And just as Jacob thought about his future communally, he also thought about it from the tangible individual needs. After all, the ladder rested on the ground. It didn't hover above in the dream, but it did reach up to heaven, and it did focus on what was Jacob thinking about. Which brings my nerdy brain some questions. Do we always dream what we're thinking about? And what do we actually pay attention to? Does that turn and translate into us increasing, decreasing our anxiety? Does it translate toward it becoming a reality? Certainly for Jacob, his dreams did ultimately become his reality. He has wives, not just one or two, but, well, 2 wives and then 2 other concubines. He has 13 children. He has herds of sheep. He has items, so much so that we see eventually when he goes to meet his brother later in the Torah, there's a splitting. It's obvious that not only did he dream it, but he, in a bizarre way, or maybe a modern twist, or in a woo-woo term, manifested it. Is it possible that we manifest things through our very dreams, through our words? Well, modern science and neuroscience says kind of is the answer to that, in the sense that what we pay attention to again and again and again is where we develop neural pathways. If we don't focus on something, those neural pathways are trimmed. If we focus on it, they are shaped and strengthened. And so in one sense, by meditating on something, by praying about it, by dreaming about it, by writing about it, by thinking about it, which maybe is exactly how Jacob was living his life, he did manifest it, because when he saw opportunities toward that thing that he most wanted, he took them. What's a word of caution that I have for us is that this statistic startled me when I came across it today. Any idea what we pay attention to as Americans? Just curious. Where do we put most of our energy and our time? The average American spends, you ready? 1,460 hours on our phone a year, which translates to 91 days. 91 days. You're sitting there looking at your smartphone. 91 days, you're not contemplating a relationship with your community, you're not contemplating who you are, you're not about to be the next Ali Reisman or working toward becoming the next Jake Retzlaff. You're focused on what's on TikTok, on Facebook, on Insta, on all of those things. Today, modernity, we face particular challenges of abundance and we just focus on them regardless. And yet our minds live in a world of scarcity. And so it's easy for us to get zapped in and sucked in, down on our cell phones. But if we think about, again, and go back to Jacob and how Jacob lived his life, what the rabbis push and remind us is that he lived a very active prayer life. The rabbis teach us that the entire Ma'ariv service originated because Jacob had a dream at night under the stars. That it wasn't just a single vision that Jacob had, rather this established a pattern of focused prayer work that shaped his entire journey. that he did inner work, not just outer work. There's even a midrash that goes so far that Jacob spent 14 years in a yeshiva of Shem ever before continuing on his own journeys. 14 years in yeshiva study. Of course, a rabbi would write that one. But either way, the idea is that he developed a deep inner spiritual life. And it was that which led his path. That which helped him see the opportunities around him. That practice of prayer and meditation helped guide him in making the choices that he made. That is how he manifested his children and everything that he had. As we continue to navigate our own journeys, whether it's through being the best Jewish quarterback ever, of course he has to beat the guy from UCLA, fingers crossed, to having better relationships and enhanced spiritual growth, may Jacob's story remind us of how to go down that path so that we too can manifest something successful.